I'm gonna make a video of some ideas that I've been having. So so I was thinking that a blank slate. Now the thing with a blank slate is that you can't like like a blank slate is yeah. I've watched some documentaries. I've watched um documentaries. I've watched movies. I've read books. I just there's a sense that that a blank slate is not hatred. That you can't really. It's really like get an idea of a blank slate. Just imagine an object, and then you have the encapsulate, you have the constructor, you have the field, you have all these things, you have the parameters. However, that those are not adequate things to describe. It's more like you're in you're in like the wilderness. There's a near city, a city or town is we don't know what the buildings are made of. Are they made of stone? Are they made of wood? Are they made of brick? Are they made of straw? Are they made of hay? You know, are they made of marble, granite? It's just that you know, I'm not just discussing about a post-apocalyptic future where you know, after World War III, right? If there is going to be a war, I don't know. There could be a civil war in one area, and who knows? We all hope that that atomic bombs won't be dropped. That's people have been praying for that for a while. You just we just hope that those things don't happen, right? And we just they don't happen, right? We hope they don't happen. So for numerous reasons. So basically, um, the thing is that not the thing is with planet Earth, we have like 7 billion souls, right? Right, 7 billion people, right? There will be a time in the future where a number will be very different. We don't know if it would. We don't know how if it would decrease, right? It could decrease, or it could increase, right? We don't know. In 2050, 2100, we don't know exactly what would happen. It's just that something would happen, right? Let's say if the population did decrease, it would be a much smaller number, right? It would be I can't say what the number would be. But there are many fiction books that could give us a glimpse of what it would look like. And, a cover picture, it's just one of those things where it's so shallow, right? Like we don't judge a book by its cover. No, we can't judge a book by its cover. That's just wrong, right? But some people do judge a book by its cover, and they most certainly take it. You certainly read it. It's very serious, right? It's just, um, it's just that the thing is that it's just some people they frown upon the idea of not being domesticated, right? The domestication is one of those things in history. It's one of those things you could get a whole entire college degree on just the topic of domestication, even though the degree name is probably different, right? It's more fancier sound, right? I don't know. I'm not going to list all the fancy words that are used in academia. It's just, it just sounds fancy, right? It's just like the name of these degrees, this, stuff like that. You know, really, how much of the social sciences and humanities, and much like the content of, you know, basically it's domestication, right? So the domestication is the idea where, um, you know, like you have these wild animals that, and then they discover fire, and then they discover, you know, uh, they discover shelter, and then um, they discover, a bunch of things. They learn how to, you know, they learn to make a sharp object, and that would be used for a bunch of numerous useful things, right? So it's just that it's just that um, we're discussing like something that's just so like think of it this way, um, like let's say I've read books, I've read classics, and it's just that when a person gets born in a very certain circumstance, it's so different because maybe in your past life you were used to using computers, and then suddenly now we have and then you're born in a future where it's just so different, right? Like the rules are different, the religion and customs and whatever is different. It's different because you got World War III, right? And it's just like World War III are in this timeline, this make believe scenario. World War III we've already passed, and the thing is we don't know exactly how this World War III would be told. We don't know like if it is even like scrolls used. We can't assume that um, that it would be just like ancient Greece or Rome. That doesn't make any sense, right? We can't that you can't make that assumption because yeah, sure it would be very different, but we can't say that a repeat of history. That we can't make that assumption. It's just wrong, right? So because it's wrong, you have to you have to keep in mind that not like some people, they're reincarnated in this future. Let's say it's 2070 or some 2080, 2090 to 2100. They're born in somewhere around that time, right? 2060, 2055, 2056, 57, yeah, 2058, 2059, So they're born around, that time, around those years, right? And this is just like, sure, we could see Indians and Native Americans, right? We could see, Indian Asians in Asia, right? We could see, like, the future, what the future of Mexico would be, right? So it would be a very different timeline, right? It's just like, and let's just say some people will, give birth to a child in like a rural area, right? Like why a rural area? Well, just because there's it's close to a farm. Farm is a source of food. Um, as a source of food, you can clearly see that there's adequate resources, and somebody's going to give birth to a child, and it's kind of far from the city. You have to remember child development, right? Like remember the idea of a blank slate. Not everybody's going to remember their past lives, so there will be many souls that will be born in this timeline that will not remember their past lives. So they're going to learn like we have to remember that if the population decreased by a lot in the future, there's not going to be like all this high tech stuff, right? There's not going to be like, like there might be computers, but it might be like very different, right? Like because the idea is to prevent World War III from happening again, technology will be utilized very differently. You're not going to see like what would look like a typical metropolis today, right? It's not going to be like all this technology everywhere, right? So it's going to look very different. So there will still be computers somewhere, but it's not going to be like, you're not going to see like people with all these, electronic phones, right? You're going to see, so just imagine if you were growing up in this, what would be the advantage? What would be the advantage of, what would you end up learning, right? Would the parent homeschool their kids? Well, what would be the point of school at that point, right? Because at this point, like there would be some folks who utilize their past life talents to become like some equivalent of like a builder, right? They'll build something, right? Let's see. Obviously, you're not going to rebuild like the modern cities, but it'll be very ancient, like, right? But it won't be like the pyramids. It would be And it won't necessarily be like the huts and stuff that the Native Americans, what they call Indians in some history books. But it's just different, right? Where you know, so like, well, I mean, like the thing is, there are many fictional depictions of a bunch of things, right? The fictional depictions of things that the imagination's all core, and then there's like creativity, right? There's all this stuff, all these scenarios, and I'm like, which one to focus on? And it's just like, it's just you have to remember that the thing with gasoline is that people are gonna start extracting. They're gonna make their own source of gasoline. Like we could clearly see those chip thingies, right? And then they'll use geothermal, ways of extracting energy. But the thing with this is that it's not going to be used in the sense that is used today, where you have like an airplane would use a huge amount of energy just for a few hours to 10 hours to dozens of hours, depending on. They use an enormous amount of fossil. So we might not see that in the future. Where I mean, there will be some form of you know it's just so it will be very different, right? So we won't use nearly as much energy, right? So, but we will have a different future, and it will cause some souls to take a very different course in their development.